Hey guys, what is up? Cinder Ash here, and I'm here today to discuss a theoretical build. Now, this is not like my other builds that I have shown fairly great success on. This is more of a build that may work very well on pen and paper, kind of like Knife Zealot and Revolver Veteran, but will fall completely short in regular gameplay. Now, it might be weird that I'm posting something like this, but I just kind of want to showcase why certain builds, and especially one like this, may work a good amount of the time, but when you're with a team that doesn't expect you to be a solo player, this could definitely be one of those that doesn't work very well, like Knife Zealot and Revolver Veteran. But we're still going to take a look at it and see how it plays out with a team and not so much on a solo. So, let's hop right into it. So, starting off, we're going to be running the Munitarum Mark 6 Power Sword. So, this is going to be great for your all-around melees just because it's so good. Damage to Carapace, damage to Flak, obviously. Supercharge, tier 4 would be the best if you could get it. Sadly, I don't play Veteran that much anymore. I feel that the talent tree just kind of fucked everything up, and it just didn't make it very good. It just kind of put Veteran into forced pigeonholed builds. And right now, if I were to be honest, I think the support Veteran build is the best out there. So if you see a support Veteran build, you know, it's probably the one to go with if you're going to be playing Veteran. A lot of them just kind of ain't it, Chief, right now with any other build. So, Supercharge, 4 stacks brittleness, Power Cycler, 2 extra chain hits. You're basically required to take both of those because they're just so good. And they do exactly what you need them to do. Cantrell, 12. You want ranged weak spot damage. If you could get tier 4, that'd be great. Ranged crit hit damage, tier 4 if you could get it. And Furnace, burn stacks, critical hit, always very good for monstrosities, very good for elites because it just adds bonus damage and it does quite a bit of damage. And then deadly accurate, 100% critical weak spot damage, always very nice, always very pog when you get it on a weapon and you shoot an enemy in the face and they just instantly explode. So again, with the Curios, we're going to be running max health. 20% is the max you can get. 21% if you're lucky, extremely rare, but that extra 1% may not make a huge difference, so it might not be worth it to look for it, but it would be on a Blessings 80 perk. Perks, again, as always, only one of them works in conjunction. Not all of them work together, so you can't stack. 60% damage resistance to gunners, snipers, etc., so it's just better to have one of each. So, combat ability regen, damage resistance, Ordo Dockets for fun. If I could, I would replace it. We're running 1 wounds just because Veteran is super squishy. And especially with this build, you're going to be squishy. And if your teammates aren't pushing all around you, but not hitting shit and letting things funnel through while you're trying to kill some of the stuff in the background, you will often get hit and just go down just because that's the nature of Auric Damnation. You are paper thin. Next up is Mechanicus, the icon. 20% max health, damage resistance, corruption resistance, toughness, regeneration speed. Alright, so coming into the talent tree, we are looking at long shot. 20% base range damage, reduced near to the target. Pretty much just a flat DPS increase at like the lowest you'll have is like 5%. Which is still good. 5% is still 5%. Next up is Exhilarating Takedown. Replenish 50% toughness, gain 10% toughness damage reduction for 8 seconds on ranged weak spot kills. Stacks 3 times. Always very nice. Basically replaces Close Order Drill just because we're a sniper. We might not always be with our teammates. So it makes it that we have to more or less take this to keep up with our toughness in case that we're in the middle of a firefight. Take that health boost, bring it down for this toughness, and then obviously Crack is still cracked. It's one of the best grenades just because of the ability to stagger monstrosities and basically just kind of implode anything you throw it at. It's really nice. Take that health boost into Grenade Tinkerer and then down into Fire Team. Now, of course, this is based around a las gun. You can, of course, use a slug shotgun, such as the Gruppina. You could take a auto gun if you'd like, because this would work in both situations. Or you could take a headhunter, in which case you may not want to take fire team, but instead you might want to rotate over here to survivalist, because this would probably be a better option based on whatever one you're running. Reason being is that you will more or less get more ammo conservation out of this going survivalist than you would on fire team when you're using a non-las gun weapon, and here you wouldn't be so much. Then we bring it down to the toughness damage reduction and into demolition stockpile. And then we're going to grab this critical chance boost, just because it's right here, and that's an extra 5%, which is very nice for the build. We're then going to grab reload boost right here for 5% reload speed, just so that way we can get to kill zone. An extra 15% base range damage when there are no enemies within 8 meters. Now, this one can be swapped more for opening salvo. I've been swapping between both of these just because both are extremely good in their own scenarios. This is more for team play, this is more for solo play. So keep that in mind, depending on how you play with teams, or if you don't play with teams and you run with open randoms like I do often, this might be better. But for this video and the video showcasing the build, I will be using Killzone. Executioner stance, range stance for 5 seconds. When you equip this perk, 25% range damage, 25% weak spot damage, spread and recoil greatly reduced. Vital for this build to just instantly pop headshots and keep moving. We're also going to want counterfire because we're going to find more ranged enemies than we will ogrins. And we'll also be killing the enemies and refresh the duration for 5 seconds, so we'll basically have a permanent 25% range damage and 25% ranged weak spot damage, as well as spread and recoil being reduced, because we'll be able to keep it up indefinitely, especially in Auric Damnation. And worst case, if this falls off, you wait until you get into another big group, and then you pull it out, press it again, repeat the process. So, rage damage boost, 5%. We're going to grab precision strikes for the extra 30% weak spot damage, another 25% crit chance, and 60% sway reduction while using your all fire, which is just ADSing. For some other classes of weapons, it may be something else, but more often than not, it's just going to be ADSing. Toughness damage reduction, and again, here comes that shock trooper for critical hits with las guns, because we're going to be critting a lot. This is exactly what we want. Of course, if you are not using a las weapon, you can replace this perk and get something else entirely up above, which I would recommend. And then determine for suppression immunity, so that way we're not getting our camera swinging all over the place while we're getting shot at while we're trying to shoot the enemy in return. Fully loaded for that extra ammo. Toughness damage reduction. Superiority complex, another 15% base damage to elites, which basically gives us about 75% base damage increase across the board. And especially against elites, we're looking at about 90%, which, you know, makes a lot of them just one shot, assuming we can hit their weak spot. For ogrins, it might be like 2 to 3, depending on if it's a bulwark or a reaper. And then, of course, with carapace ones, just throw your grenade at them. Don't even bother trying to shoot them. It's not worth it. Marksman, 10 seconds. Any weak spot hit gains 20% power, which is also incredibly nice. And then Marksman Focus. This is where the whole thing becomes theoretical. So, on paper, this sounds really good. Range fit finesse power. Which, if you don't know what finesse does, it does this. And then, of course, 1% reload speed. So, camouflage, we want this one, so that way we gain a stack whenever we're standing still or walking when crouched. Now, walking when crouched isn't too bad, but obviously this game's very much about speed. And sometimes even on Auric Damnation, going too fast will kill you, but also going too slow will kill you. So, obviously being crouched, you're going to be too slow, and it might cause the group to fall into a stupor of getting killed by everything, so this could be a little rough to use, but at other times it can be very rewarding to use. Tunnel Vision, Toughness replenishment for each stack of focus. This could go up to 25% Toughness replenishment, which is extremely nice when we couple it with our Exhilarating. And then, of course, here, Chink in the Armor, 10% rending when at or over 10 stacks of focus, which rending, just in general, is just better damage against flak enemies, such as like the Dreggers that have the hoods on. So, let's hop into the actual match, and let's show what a theoretical build looks like when played in the proper settings, like a Knife Zealot, and how it would compare into a solo build. And let's talk about that. So, this and all sand maps are by far my least favorite, being that they are the buggiest maps in existence, where enemies will walk out of walls, they'll come out of the floor in front of you, they'll randomly drop down from the ceiling on top of you, and they have never fixed these maps. Even some of the extrapolation points, such as the stairways up, closer to the end of the level, you'll know which ones I'm talking about as we get there. You will have enemies just randomly shooting you through the floor, and you can't get back to them. And it makes it really, really obnoxious to try and get through that area, especially with snipers. So first things first, I wanted to go in here and pop this. And unfortunately for me, I don't know why, but the Mauler in there did not get lit up by my stands. So this is another reason that this is a theoretical build, because sometimes the elites and other enemies you need to light up will not work with it and will not carry us over. And you'll notice a lot of the times that I will literally just be shooting enemies in the face to get that stacks that allow me to keep moving for 3 seconds before it drops off. And there's no indicator down at the bottom, as you will watch during certain sections after I shoot something in the face, where it does not tell me when it's about to drop off and when it doesn't. And in situations like this, where you saw that I was just kind of like shooting even base enemies in the face to get that bonus damage and the rending and whatnot, it helped for a minute and it kept me going. And then other times, it would just drastically fall off. And there's no indicator of when I get it and when it doesn't. Another problem that I see with this, compared to the other two trees, is simply the fact that it's only range damage gives the rending. So even though you'll see me, like, I'll get some stacks because I'm standing still, or just because I'm getting some stacks by doing anything, I'm not gaining that bonus rending damage, but it will be useful when I have to swap to melee and then I reload, that I'll be able to get back a lot of the ammo that I need in my guns. Now, right there was also a very interesting reaction, where I did not expect my shot to miss, but then them also get theirs. So, as you can also see, I was basically running out in front of everybody, and even then, while taking all that gunfire, I was at 22 toughness and just standing there at it, just because I was landing headshot after headshot after headshot, and it keeps you in that firefight while you're getting blasted, and you kind of become like a mini tank, which is great, in theory, but again, you are a veteran, so you're incredibly squishy. And it makes it really hard to actually feel like you're doing well enough to keep that toughness going. Now, I could see it working better if instead of having health, we went through toughness. But the problem then is we are literally like paper with 200 some HP. So just imagine if we went full toughness instead of HP. The implications that it could be. It could be incredibly strong, or it could be incredibly weak, where, you know, poxwalkers that just slip in between our teammates, or just people in between us, let us get hit by something, then we're just instantly down. Like, there's not even like a second chance. It's you're just down and you're just dead. That's it. So right here, obviously, bulwarks. Dent took care of a lot of them, but I didn't expect him to be able to easily just mow them down. So I went into the focus of I need to toss the grenades at them. I need to get them down, but Dent covered them, which is great because then that means I could have saved my grenades for something else. If we had comms, which is again where the whole team play versus solo play comes in of you don't know what anybody's doing at any given time, and you don't know what anybody's build technically is. You may see them running certain stuff, like at a baseline, but it's not like you can fully understand what their skill tree is and what they're running. Which is where I prefer team play, because then I know exactly who's running what, who's not, and what we could do to fix that. So as you can see, keeping this up basically the entire time isn't difficult to do. And you can reset it the entire time, and like I said, 3 shots kills the Reaper. You know, you'll be able to poke off a lot of these enemies, especially at distance, which is 1 to 2 headshots. And our abilities already back up after that entire duration. So whenever we get into the next firefight, we're going to be really, really good. Even without stacks to our ranged ability against that dog, we almost one-tapped it in the face. It did 1307, and dogs have 1400 HP. So that would have been really nice if I just had even a couple of stacks, but just because I prefer to constantly shoot and move, this is where the build kind of becomes that whole theoretical sense. And then there's also all these guys in here, and then as you can see, I'm just always kind of aiming for the face, aiming for shots. My toughness just keeps going up, and even though I was getting blasted, I was just not going down. It's the only problem of the having to land the headshots could be difficult for some, but if you are consistently at least at a 65% accuracy on headshots, the build can do wonders. So now we get into the situation of the hordes and everything that comes around doing objectives like this. A lot of the times, you're going to run into not so many elites, but you will run into quite a bit of groups. And now, I didn't really need to worry a lot about the groups, and basically what I wanted to do was just kind of focus on the elites if I could see any. But that's kind of the problem. A lot of the time you're coming up against hordes and you just got to go melee. And now there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that the focus of the build is to try and be as ranged as possible. But you can kind of see where melee builds shine a lot in this game because it's more of a melee focused game. And even here, with me just hammering these guys in the face and just kind of with the ability up and just trying to make sure all of them drop as soon as possible, it could be a little bit difficult because you just have these other melee guys just coming in constantly and knocking you, and your shots just go a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right when you have to hit such a small, narrow target with a headshot. So here was the first revive that I got off to help teammate up. We'll be getting another one soon, and this is something that I cannot stress enough, is just the fact that killing those elites, I was still getting just whacked down by one guy, and he almost knocked me down. But this person, even though they're a zealot, and they have a health kit, and they did not toss their health kit when they got low, because they wanted to save it for team instance. Which, in some cases, it's almost better for you as a person to just drop it and ping it for your teammates, so that way the snowball effect doesn't happen in situations like this where there's just a ton of stuff coming, and there's no way to really slow it down until we get through the objective. And if the objective isn't getting done almost instantly, it becomes really hard to do. Now, I could have gone back and charged myself up more with that health kit, but health kits do have a HP percentage that they will heal before they completely exacerbate. And obviously Marine needed it a little bit more than I did, so I just wanted to make sure that they got it before I did. So unfortunately, my flak grenade attached to a regular enemy in that scenario. I guess because the chest piece that they're wearing technically counts as flak, even though when you shoot them in the chest, it doesn't. And it basically did no damage to the things that I wanted to kill. So it forced me to use my other one, and then I had to go in melee with the sword, which isn't a bad thing, but definitely could have been better for me in the long haul if I didn't have to pull it out. Now, I can't see where this sniper is at all, and I should have used my combat ability to see where it was. Because here, I take the painful mistake of learning that a sniper shot to the ass can almost instantly kill you. And even still, I was, like, not using it. And my brain is right there. I should have been using it. And now I use it to try and get just some line of sight on it, and then eventually I find it. And then as you can see, it just more face tanking of gunners, just shooting them in the face. And I have all my toughness back already, which just makes this just a really nice for face tanking a lot of enemies. Now, unfortunately here, this is where I get fucked up. I get caught. I didn't hear it right away, and this is just my bad. I just got hit from that guy across the map. I got meleeed, and then I at least staggered the Ogren so my team could take care of it, and then obviously the Ogren did very well with it. I was low HP from the sniper, and I fucked up. And then I also shot that and killed my teammate instead of just pushing it. So, sadly, I killed Olive Garden. And this is why you gotta watch and pull away when pox bursters are coming. You gotta make sure you don't accidentally kill your teammates with them when you shoot them. And then this spot also is gonna get really dicey here. So we decided to hold up here, which isn't a bad spot to hold up because there's only a couple of ways that they can come. Or so I thought. So as you see, I'm gonna try and move over to Marie because I want to get that coherency so that way we can stay in toughness, and then this way we can just melee everything down. No big deal, right? Dent's a little bit over here, so I kind of want to move back to him a little bit and help until I realize that there's Crusher, and then obviously when there's the Crusher there, I'm just going to fucking blow it up. Because again, the less Crushers you have to deal with, and the quicker you take them out, the better, because there's already another one over here on the right. Now, he's doing a great job of holding them back, and then obviously I've been taking a couple of hits because of just how wide the arc has been. And then, thankfully, Marie put down a med kit, but I'm stepping in and out of it. The problem here is that the enemies are also coming up behind us because they're jumping 30 feet in the fucking air to grab the ledge and hop up. And you can see I'm checking behind me every so often again to make sure that it's not happening, because I simply just don't want to get caught in it. And then because Marie is running my Cinders and Ashes build, even though they eventually tell me that they're not running my exact build, but they're definitely holding on to a similar premise with Flame Staff, that Force Sword, and Brain Burst with the Force Push. basically held it down very well. Now, I have the issue of I have to take down this sniper, so I'm like ready to take it down and I'm trying to kill it, but I get ganked from behind because I assumed that Marie was still behind me. And that's another problem with this build, is you can't assume anything, especially when it comes to randoms and teammates. You can't assume they're always going to have your back. So this makes this very hard to actually do anything with when you're trying to shoot and kill shit, because your teammates are not always going to have your back. And then you're going to get gunned down like a degenerate, like right here. Now, the two people that are still on a call, they obviously have comms. They're working together very efficiently and very well, which isn't hard to do because Psyker is just fucking disgusting. Has always been very fucking disgusting. And then Ogren, some people claim Ogren was the best class pre-patch 13. I don't fucking see it, but I digress. Ogren now is extremely good and probably one of the best classes, if not the best class in the game right now. So thankfully they were able to clean up the couple of enemies, get us pushed back in, keep us going. So as you can see, this Rager Horde is coming in. Obviously, Olive is going to be able to take down a lot of these because they're running Heavy Sword, and Heavy Sword is just really good, but obviously being a Zealot is a little rough at times, and then tossing that grenade was able to kill a couple. It's kind of one of the main gripes that I have with a lot of the Zealot feel to it, is the second that a Rager gets on top of you, just because, like, they have Unstoppable, and they're unyielding, and all this other stuff, they could just basically, like, two-tap you, and there's very little stagger you could actually do to them, and the off chance that you actually do stagger them feels so good, but at the other times, it's just like, oh, fuck. So Dent's also running Gungren, but he's also running that Maul, and that Maul is just really fucking good. Thankfully, he dropped an ammo because me and him were getting low, and we definitely needed it. So, because mine's still down, but there's still not a lot of enemies, I'm not pressing my F button yet. I just want to make sure that I can push through and move forward with my group, so that way I can start focusing on up here. Now, here is where a good chance I could have, and I do, pop my ability. And now, there's still a lot of things I need to kill and I need to get a lot of headshots. But the problem is, a Horde also came in at the same time, so it eliminated my ability to actually do a lot of that stuff. So, now it's time to go melee focused yet again. So, as you can see, this can ruin your ranged a lot when it comes to this build, where you're like trying to just constantly stack rending, you're trying to constantly stack anything, and it makes it really hard to progress and keep going. Now Marie went down, and I did not notice Marie went down at this time, otherwise I would have probably pushed back to help with them instead of continuing to do what I've done. Thankfully they pushed together and got it, but I definitely was an ass clown for not going back to assist my team and trying to be the hero up here and try to clear everything in front of me. Because you'll see very shortly that I made a very non-calculated error of shooting too far forward and not close enough, because there was a gunner directly underneath me that was just lighting my day up, and I could have performed significantly better if I did that. And then there's another thing, the ladders on this map, absolutely glitchy. Sometimes they'll slingshot you off once you get to the top, and you'll just fall to your death. So, while we sit here and wait for them to reconnect, how is your guys' day going? Are you guys doing good? I hope so. You know, no matter what kind of build you like to play, in all, as long as you have fun, that's what matters. But, also guaranteed that since it is a team game, remember that sometimes your fun costs the expense of fun for other players. And well, that might be okay to you, it's not okay to the other 3 people. So always keep that in mind, and be nice to yourself and to everybody whenever you decide to play certain builds, or just test them out. Now that Marie is back, let's get back into it. So I was just kind of asking him questions about builds, because I know that my Psyker build got a little bit of traction recently. And I figured it would be nice to kind of see if he just like randomly came across my build, decide to play it out, because it, aside from the toughness, it looks almost exactly like my build. And I was just kind of like, oh, that'd be really neat if I just ran into somebody while I was doing a different build, and they decided to pick up my build. So a lot of what I'm doing right now is I'm listening, and especially to these guys, the trappers. You always want to constantly be listening, because you are, again, the designated headshot person. You want to be the guy who sees an elite, pops their head, gets them down, yada yada yada. Move on, move forward. Now, there's also snipers and bombers all around me, because you can hear them and you can, you know, see their line of sights, and they're a little bit all over the place. So, right now, my main focus is just clearing the stairs until we can move forward, so that way I can see if there's any line of sights or anything, and then obviously I'm just backpedaling while shooting the mutant in the face, because ideally that's my goal. And then I saw that little red line appear across my face, so I'm looking for the sniper anywhere, and I do not see them at all. It seems like they just fucked off again, and it's really hard to fight the snipers in this kind of area, because one of two things is going to happen. It's either going to be completely across the map and you can snipe it in one shot and you're good to go, or it's going to do a lot of this issues, kind of, where like they'll hop in and out of holes and just kind of like rotate around the map so much that you can't even keep track of them, but you'll see that red line, and then you're always fucking paranoid about, oh shit, is it here, is it there, what are we gonna do? etc. You can see there's now multiple lines of sight, and checking that one, that guy just runs out the back again. So it makes it not worth as much. And then, of course, just because I fucking hate snipers, I shot that one in the dick, because fuck him. And then just keeping an eye on everything around us. I don't see anything else, no other elites or anything I need to worry about, so it's time to push forward. Now, the reason I'm not entering this room is because you want to wait for your team. Otherwise, it's going to start the Persian demonic growth, which summons all the enemies. So you want to wait for your team to catch back up before you enter the room. A lot of points in this game do have trigger zones, where if you walk a certain distance, then you're automatically starting it. So as you can see between me and Dent right here, he's just gunning everything down. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to compare to his stuff at close range, but I'll be able to take down a lot of the longer range stuff as it pops up. Now comes the time where we're just realigning the data, and then of course I'm just going to be picking out elites as I see them, just pop them when I can, and then just keep rotating. I also want to find a high vantage point, so that way I can see across the map and just see everything. So I'm going to rotate over here to my left, because you can get on top of these boxes. But I want to wait until I kill all these guys first. Then I'm just going to swap to my sword, just to chop them up real quick. And then you won't get meleeed as much up here, so this is just a good spot to just kind of sit around and just do whatever. So he's holding down that corner, and there's no real reason for me to shoot down that way because it's an Ogren. Ogren against these guys in general is just I shoot or I melee one heavy and everything dies. So there's no reason for me to aim down that way. He could just take care of all of it. Now he's rotating back to us anyway, so he'll be shooting at close range, and there's no reason for me to do anything except to pick off any elites that I see or anything in the distance that just helps thin the hordes until everybody gets to me. And there we go. So that wraps up the theoretical build. And now, obviously, what we want to do is we just want to look at our damage, boss damage, etc. like that. Obviously, Ogren's going to do better than us, but we were the second best, which means we out-DPS'd the Psyker, running a similar build to me, and we out-DPS'd the Zealot. So, I feel like that held down and did exactly what we needed to do. We also stayed in a lot of proficiency. We stayed together a lot. We also took a lot of damage, but that's just because we also were standing out in the open. But I feel like that covered everything. And in theory, this does great in teams, but in solo, it probably won't do so well. But if you guys decide to try it out in team, and if you like the video, you know, all that other stuff kind of boost me up, I'd appreciate it. Remember to sub and all that other stuff. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.